So we'll start with some basic definition of what project is, because when you think of a project, you usually have in mind this, great companies doing like huge buildings or bridges or stuff, and it's really a huge event. Or on the other hand, you have this creative events in your mind, like video projects or other media projects, like releasing an issue or something like that. But actually a project can be anything in our life that we approach with a proper approach. Every bigger task we have can be approached with some tools and techniques that are used by project managers to make it all easier to make it happen. Like, for example, writing your master thesis or bachelor thesis will all of you will do at some point in your life, probably. So I will share my screen now with you. In the world of project managers, there is this project management triangle, and here we can see this triangle, and on the corners of this triangle you have time, money, and quality. That's the three qualities that the project has. And the thing with this triangle is that it's not too stretchy. That means that when you start being late with your project, there is either either the quality will go down or the cost will go up if you still want to finish at the same deadline that you first came up with. And this is the spectrum that you're managing during the process of implementing your project. And this is something that all the risks are circling around. As I mentioned in my introduction, there is this gap between our expectations and our final output, and in general the main reason why this gap happens is because we don't take into account some things that are happening and may happen during the way. Like, we like to go like, yeah, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna happen somehow, but we don't take into account things that are very easy to do beforehand, to make sure that we actually deliver what we initially thought that we want to deliver. And I had my favorite example for what happens when you don't manage risk at all, and when you just say that it's going to go great. During my time in university, I was art director for our students magazine, and what we had to do each month is making covers for the magazine. And when I asked my team, hey, what do you want to make a cover for this month, they came up pretty every single month with a photo shoot, and probably saying like, so we're gonna have two children and a mother posing in a very old school kitchen with a table, because the main article was about family problems. And I was listening to it. I really liked the idea, but then when it came to implementing this idea, it always turned out that they had no models for this kind of photo shoot. And in the end, they had to change the idea last minute, and the final output was not as great as it could be if they realized at the very beginning that there's no way they could find like two absolutely random children that they would pose for no money with their mother for the magazine cover. And this is something that can be taken care of very easily if you just look at more of a bigger picture when you do something before actually starting doing it. And there's also this nice quote used by project managers, like, manage risk or the risk will manage you. Or how I like to put it, like, pretending that something doesn't exist won't make it disappear. So how to actually identify risks? I think that the best way to approach it is from 3 different perspectives. First one is this triangle that you may see on the screen right now. And here you may think what can make your quality go down during the process of making the project. For example, you want to make a video, but you didn't realize at the beginning that your videography skills may not be as high as it's required for the project you want to make, or that may not be processing stuff as quickly as you need. And if you just try at the very beginning, you may just think that it will go okay, it will be finished somehow. Yes, it's true that it may be finished somehow, but is it going to be finished on as high quality level as you want it to be? When it comes to costs, we obviously don't have costs for most of media projects or projects like implementing a new way of sharing and your sharing style. There are costs in the organizing part of the sessions, but also sometimes this cost part is not only about money, but it's more about human capital that we get engaged in the project. Because if we're running out of time and we realize that we may be losing some quality, it may be necessary to get some more people involved with the project with us. I mean, time is quite straightforward. If we, because from its definition, project is something that has its beginning and has its end, and this end is usually a very strict deadline, and we don't want our project to be ready for Christmas, rather than for the session itself. So working around that, you also should think about people that can influence your project, that are all the stakeholders around it, because you're not the only person that is going to influence the final output. Your skills are very relevant, your effort is very relevant, your vision and everything, but it's very limited spectrum of what you can manage when it comes to yourself. And not only your skills are something that are going to work on the final output, on what you will get. So you have people called stakeholders that are influencing your project on purpose or not, but either way they're influencing it. And for your life, they may be all your friends around you, maybe your professors at universities that are supervising you. In your professional life, that will be your coworkers, your bosses, your clients, or the suppliers. But when you go back to EYP level, when you have your project, delegates are definitely very important stakeholder that we keep forgetting sometimes while doing things. And the stakeholder part may be clearer when I will bring you to our case that we're gonna make later on. So I'll give you this little example of how you can manage risk or figure out what risks even are there and what can you do about them, with this funny example of this very life situation. Imagine you're organizing a surprise party for your best friends, and there are 4 other people to help you with the party. And there are other 10 people that said that they were gonna pay you some money for the presents and for the stuff. And you all agreed that they're gonna pay you money after the party itself. At first, you're gonna do the shopping and pay for everything yourself. And after the party, they're gonna give you the money back. And from those 4 people, one is your best friend, boyfriend, that can really keep like secret for himself. Another person can be like aspiring social butterfly that is not really happy with you organizing the party. And another person may be very close to your best friend, but someone you don't really know. And how people usually take the situations like that is they do the stuff they usually do. They more or less trust people. And then we're surprised afterwards that we don't get half of our money back. Our best friend knew about the party before it happened. And one of the people that were supposed to help us were rather ruining the whole thing because they were jealous that we're the ones in charge. So for example, for a life situation like that, you may actually ask people to pay you upfront, so you have some money to spend and you don't have the risk that you're not going to get your money back. You may also need to supervise or watch more closely how your best friend, boyfriend will act, and make sure that he's not going to tell her about your party. And you may also like to supervise more closely people that you first of all don't really know, and some that may be more of an obstacle than any help to your project. And on a corporate level, you may want to get closer with your boss or keep him informed, or when you sign a contract, you want to make sure that there are some fines inside the contract that will make your suppliers more accountable and make sure that they will actually deliver whatever they said they will deliver, because of the huge fine that is threatening them for not delivering what they said they will deliver. So now I will ask all of you to kind of have this open discussion and start filling this doc all together, because also that will be something that I will ask our team to do later on with the projects for Valencia. And I will read this case in a while, in a minute. You can also read it yourself in this left corner. And your first stage of filling this in will be to identify the most crucial stakeholders, meaning the most important people, the people that has the most power around, like over your project. And people can also be yourself. But I think in this case, I wrote for you, you don't know much about yourself, so you should probably focus more on the people around you that may actually influence your project. For example, this can be the editor. Later on, for all the four stakeholders, I will ask you to figure out what's the biggest risk that can happen, like what's the worst case scenario kind of, but a very particular thing. For example, the risk may be that your editor gets very stressed and he puts all the stress on you. I'm sorry, I'm stressed. Yeah, you're smiling now. It's just an example. But if your editor is not very nice, and if it may get aggressive, this aggression may be passed on you, and then you will get very stressed and you won't be really able to finish your project the way you wanted to. So your action on this kind of risk may be to keep your editor informed, to make your contacts quite as controlled and as they can be, and as little aggressive as they can be. Some of the stakeholders may also be actually the outside audience. If your project is like strongly directed towards the outside audience, you may want to, your risk may be that your content won't be really as good as you thought, that some sponsor may not be satisfied with this content, that it's gonna miss the key idea for that, and you're not gonna get probably as much engagement maybe on social media as you might. And you can also try acting on that before, for example, trying to adapt the content strongly to your key audience, researching your key audience a bit more, and making it all more adapt. So can you now all unmute yourself? Hello.
Hello.
I closed everything. Here. And yeah, I mean, I can read the case out for you. And so you're the media team during the session in the middle of Europe. The weather likes to change here. And let's say it's not DIS, it's like the national session, so it's like 4 or 5 days. And you have to film interviews every single day of the session with the same every day, meaning that one interview for one person every day. And there are 4 people that you have to film, and one is from church team, one from media, one is a delegate, one is in Orga. And you have 4 media team members that will help you. It's like Dante, Will, and Gaia. And they are also committee media team members. Will has a very good video experience, and the other 2 does not that much. Dante has already edited twice, and Gaia is much younger and less experienced than the other people. And you'll try. Your EA is under pressure from the editor and the president, because the president wants the legendary content that the session page can show off, and also the president doesn't know much about media, but can be very mean and aggressive with direct contacts with some session participants. So your task for the next few minutes is to identify 4 key stakeholders that may influence your project, like the most important ones that can also either threaten the success of your project, or there may be also some stakeholders that may guarantee it a huge success, if you can find some like that. And I will be quiet for now, so if someone can maybe start working on that. I mean, if I see that you don't really know what to do, I will step in and help you, but what I've learned is the best way of learning is trying to do something yourself, and from the method of mistakes and learning from your own mistakes, you can learn to do something the fastest way. Hello?
So let's say the session is very busy and the organizing team isn't as prepared as they should be. Everyone has something to do, and they don't even have 1 minute to spare. So if there is a crisis during or in organization team, there will be no one. And if it's, for example, the last day, especially, and if you plan the last day for organizers, then well, there is the risk that you won't have any organizer. Me? Sorry.
Yeah, we don't. If you're not speaking, we don't really hear you. I mean, there's a huge noise.
Really? Wait, can you hear me now?
I hear you now, but I don't hear Michalina too well.
Because I have my earphones on, but now it should be worse because I think that I had my I mean, I'm on my the built-in microphone. Wait. Hello?
Hello?
Is it better?
Yes.
Okay. So should I repeat myself?
I mean, I heard you, Carolina, but I didn't hear Michalina, and I assumed that was this very weird noise was from her.
Okay. Sorry.
No, Michalina, we don't hear. I mean, I don't hear you.
Me neither.
I mean, you can turn off the video maybe and stay on the audio. No, I'm sorry, we don't hear you, but maybe others can join the discussion as well. So you're saying that one of the key stakeholders would be the organizing team?
Oh, or one of the organizers that you had plans with filming.
Okay, any other opinions? Did you get the idea of who stakeholders are? Maybe you want me to repeat a bit, like some part of it. Do you get the idea of finding the stakeholders? Or maybe I should repeat it in some different way. Guys, if someone is speaking, you have to unmute yourself.
The editor and the president would be two different stakeholders.
Yes, there will be two different stakeholders. I mean, group of stakeholders work like that have the common goal. So, I mean, if you assume that both the editor and the president have exactly the same goals, you can put them together as one stakeholder.
I don't know what their goals would really I don't know. Like, the editor obviously wants to have a great media presentation in the end.
Yeah, I mean, you may, this goal part may be tricky, but for example, if you know about the president, that he or she is very ambitious, and you heard from them that they want the content to be super great, but you also see that they don't know much about it, and you probably compare your content to other sessions content. You may find the goal here that or maybe the president wants a lot of shares or a lot of engagement on the page, and this is how he or she will perceive your success as a media team. The goal of the editor is usually like that they want the success of the team and they want them to be good, but the goal of the EA, on the other hand, maybe also not only to make a good content, but also to somehow don't get into much trouble with the editor and the president. So for the EA, the wish to not get into aggressive disagreements with his or her bosses may be stronger than the wish to make the content good, and this may kind of influence how your supervisor will act with you. I know this is this may get very advanced and very complicated when you think too much about it, but when you get this idea to your head, I think it may be easier to start noticing things around you that may influence, that you're not even noticing right now, that they're influencing what you do, or that some people may not have as obvious goals as you think they have. So sometimes getting to know someone better or thinking twice what can actually drive someone to act this way or the other way, especially if it's your supervisor and if he or she has strong impact on your project. For example, you can have a EA that very strongly pushes you towards finishing stuff on time, not really caring about the quality, and you feel stressed, everyone around feels stressed, and this may be something that can be worked out if you start thinking about that before. And in this case, I wrote some backstory of Dante, Will, and Guy on purpose, for example, because if you have, if you work as a media team member, if you work with other media team members, but it's your project, so kind of someone is under you, but he or she already edited before, they may start bossing around a bit and not really letting you finish your project the way you wanted to have it done. And this may cause a lot of disagreements and a lot of extra conflict that may be avoided if you try planning how to deal with this before. Is it more clear now? Hello? I see 8 people as participants, but oh no, Siri. I don't know what I said, but my phone thought that. So I said, hey Siri. I see a few people there, but I don't hear anyone. So if you could engage with me, that would be nice. Like get involved more into this task.
So if you presented a situation in this way, because I think I didn't get it that much the first time. So I think that one of the the stakeholders could be Will, as he is a very, very experienced, and as you said, it may be a situation when he will boss you around, which wouldn't be as pleasant for your project because, well, the fact that he has more experience doesn't necessarily mean that he can take over.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. can I hear some other opinions as well? Because I was more hoping that you may discuss between yourselves. Valentia girls. Once I see you here.
So I think that there are a lot of things that could go wrong in this case, especially when it's one MTM who is in charge and the other 3 MTMs have their, I'd say, some, I don't know, cons, because they are like, there's one person who knows how to shoot the video but is shy, right?
Wait, I think you mixed my names a bit. There's Dante, Will, and Gaia. Will has experience. Dante was experience with videos. Dante has edited already, and Gaia is young and shy.
Yeah, sure. And one of them has to be featured in the video, right? In this project.
Not necessarily. You can ask. I mean, you can ask some of them, but you can also ask someone else from the media team.
Yeah. Okay, so I think one of the stakeholders would be also a chair, like a chair that the person is filming, this MTM is filming, because the chair might be busy maybe during the committee work day or the GA day, and this might cause a problem, because if this MTM who is doing the project wants to film everything perfectly with the lighting and all the other things, then maybe this chair is not available at the right period or at right moment of the day, and this might be one of the problems. And also, like, some problems might be with the equipment, but I believe that won't be the case. Maybe like this MTM does this project, but then the camera crashes, or maybe he or she realizes that it has a bad quality and wants to retake it, but then cannot find the person who was in the project. So yeah, there are a lot of things that could possibly go wrong.
Oh yeah, they are.
So I think that we shouldn't put chair in like a separate category. I think that one category should be like the one stakeholder should be the person that is being filmed, because the same case goes for organizers, delegates, other media team members, and I don't think that the role during the session changes the fact that someone might be busy or might be unavailable. So I think that it could be even one stakeholder.
Yeah, definitely. If you feel that they have all one kind of goal or similar problems going around them, they definitely can be one stakeholder. You can fill that in if other people agrees. Someone can also join the girls. Melina, Michalina's microphone doesn't work too well, but maybe Melina. I see you here.
Hi. Sorry. Yeah. So I was I was looking. Well, okay. This might be a bit weird. Could the weather be a stakeholder?
The girls said that all the interviewed people as one stakeholder. But are you asking me to explain who's a stakeholder, or?
No, I'm just thinking. Well, stakeholder usually applies to people, but then if you consider other things and what they could be, how they could be affecting the project, then could the weather itself count as a stakeholder? In that it also.
No, weather is not really a stakeholder. I mean, there are some other risks. I mean, it's in this particular task, I would like you to think about stakeholders starting from, thinking about risk starting from the stakeholders. So, like thinking how thinking human beings can affect your project, but obviously also there are some things that we, like weather, that we can't really act on too well. But I would say that in this case, you can be a stakeholder yourself, because you're the one who is checking the forecast, or like picking the location where to shoot. So for example, if the weather is changing a lot that day, and if you choose to shoot outside, that's kind of more of your responsibility than the weathers itself, than her itself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel that you are the one responsible many things that you don't take care of that often, or you might forget about, you can put yourself as one of the key stakeholders here and figure out what risks go around your bad choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely agree with that. Well, I was looking at Dante, Will, and Gaia and considering how they each would affect you differently. Well, it has to do with someone who's too experienced and might be willing to take over your project, and then you have someone who's not experienced enough to speak up and take control in parts you need them to take control. And then you have someone who has the practical skills and who can do the practical parts and also let you deal with the project the way you want to. So I think each one of them has three different kind of risks, I guess. I'd put all three of them in three different stakeholder categories.
I do think also that they should be in different stakeholder category. But I think I said before Will, but I meant Dante because I meant that was like leadership rollish, but I just I was just confused. But that was my fault.
Guys, this is like Abigail. You basically have to find four most guilty people.
But I honestly think that it can be the interviewed person, Dante and Gaia, because they might cause some risks. A person with good video experience, I don't think, well, the risk that the person can bring with themselves is the fact that they might be busy with their own projects and they might be unavailable in time when you will need them. But yeah, I also think that the editor or president could be, but I'm not quite sure about that.
Does my audio maybe works now?
Yeah, now it's good.
It's much better.
I switched to my phone, which is always more reliable. So I think in terms of president and editor, they kind of have the same goal of like making the content good, but I think that the editor might have more empathy, and the editor might be someone who will be like willing to help you and more understanding for any problems you will have as a media team member, whereas the president, who may not even understand like what kind of problems, like what are you facing. So I would say that president and editor are separate, because editor has this interest to take care of you and has responsibility for your well-being as well, and the president doesn't necessarily. So I would put them separately.
But I do think that each individual from your team of the project brings much more risk than a president.
That's definitely true.
Okay. Can you pick four?
But I guess I'm not sure if I understood you then correctly, Dominika, but it's not the stakeholder is someone who brings risks. Like that is not the...
No. The definition is someone who has any stake in the stuff you do. In Polish, it's interesariusz.
So definitely president, who is like the very reason why this project is taking place, you know, the very, like, in that sense, he's a stakeholder, even though doesn't have like a likelihood of making it more difficult. It's low.
When thinking about stakeholders, you and finding the key ones, you usually think how much power someone has over you and your project, like how much influence actually this person has. Like if you think about the delegate, like very random delegate, not the one that you're interviewing, you may say, okay, this guy may run into your camera because he doesn't care, but it may not really, threaten the whole project, and it's not that much risk for everyone. But on the other hand, president, who's not directly involved in the stuff, but would be constantly running around and maybe talking to your fellow media team members without you knowing that, he may get them stressed, and this may lower the quality of the whole thing down.
Yeah, the president also impacts how much time people have, right? Like if you want to interview chairperson and the president thinks that chairs should be staying with committee at all times, then it will be much more difficult, for example, for chairs to find time.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. It's good to know what approach and what motivation has the person you're dealing with. If you have the kind of president that really thinks that chairs don't have time to help media team in any way, that may definitely be a huge problem for you.
And I think the same way.
Can you pick 4 stakeholders so we can move with this? Okay.
Oh, did you mention organizing team? Just if we need some additional help, I mean, from organizing team in regards of maybe some other equipment, some extra stuff. For example, if we're making a photo booth and we need some decorations, we might need help from organizing team who, for example, totally forgot to bring them to us or to transfer them from venue to venue. So there might be also organizing team in charge. If we
Our task is an interview, so we know what the task is. So for the interview, I think that I might be wrong because I've never been a media team member, but I think that the camera and the person, good lighting, and some nice scenery, a microphone which might be in camera will work. And I think that the equipment is usually taken with the media team member that you will probably use during interview.
Yeah, I did not mean the camera and microphone and other stuff. I meant some other additional stuff maybe that Orga team promised to bring. For example, some other stash that a media team might need. It's just like one of the examples if we do need such thing for the project. If we're not, then organizing team is not involved in it. So
yeah, but that's what
organizing team is definitely a stakeholder, but the question is if the organizing team is a key stakeholder, because you can pick only 4.
Not as the key stakeholder, sure.
So can you pick 4? Because like,
yeah, we're checking.
There's no one solution to that, and some people may argue that it may be editor, president, you, and Dante, and some other people will pick completely different stakeholders. So there's no good or wrong answer, but we just need them to move forward. So
do we say them out loud or do we write them somewhere? The key stakeholder. Do we write them down somewhere, yes, or do we?
It's 4 boxes.
Okay, cool.
1 per box. So someone can start filling that in once you agree.
Okay, so I would really say Dante would be one of the stakeholders.
Why wouldn't you put Dante together with other media team members?
Because I think that Dante brings different risk than Gaia, definitely. It's
the same goal of like helping you because he has to help you.
Okay, if you put it that way. Okay.
Does he? I mean, at this point, I may also
he might not.
the concept of the risk that is known to everyone and the risk that is unknown. I'm not risk, sorry, the motives that like your goals that are known and goals that are unknown. The well-known goal of our media team members will be to provide the session with the great output, but some media team members may also have this unknown goals, like not commonly known, like for example, Dante's goal may be to kind of be more in charge because he thinks he's the one who knows best. So when you consider a stakeholder, you also should think how these people will actually act, not how they will act in theory.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I really think that he should be alone.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
So I think that our like methodology for it should be what is how the potential risk can affect us. So for example, Gaia can if she doesn't have that much experience, she might take a shot of like she might film someone, but then in the editing it turns out that it is not focused for half of the thing, or there is no sound, so it's the last day that you need to do it and you need to reshoot it, but you can't, because it's kind of too late, because it's the night before, for example. But I don't know I don't know what would be the value of it comparing to a person that doesn't show up for a shoot, because those are very hypothetical situations, though there are some risks. Yep.
Okay, can we decide on something? I like Abigail. Who's the most guilty? Girls, because it's actually only for girls. Michalina, Karolina, Melina, and Kwanza. And also Tess, if you want to, Tessie, if you want to take part as well.
No, it was just my impression that we did agree on something, and that I don't have to argue anymore. Because
Okay, so can you type it down if you agreed on something?
Okay.
we had this guy with editorial experience, and then we had the other, because we still want to include other media team members who are helping, right? And then we have participants, and then we have the leadership.
Great, so put that down and we can move to identifying the risk itself, and more important, how to actually make something about them to make it less risky.
Spelling. Okay.
It should.
Yeah, let's just put it. Oh no, I'm done. I'm technologically illiterate. I can't. And who was the last one? One of the media team members.
The Gaia and Will are their names, because they are very important. Like without them, I guess the project won't be possible.
Okay, but there's Dante and Gaia, but we have 4 places. There's leadership, participants, and one of the media team members that is in the team. Though I think that Will, the person that has a video experience, might be a risk. I do think that the other will pose more risk than Will.
But again, it's not so much about whether he poses risk, it's about that his participation in the project is very important for success.
Yes, but we don't have any more places, so that's what we have to agree upon.
Okay, so in that case, I think that Will, if he knows how to edit videos, will be more important than Gaia, because Gaia can just do nothing and we'll be fine with that. But if Will won't help us, if he knows how to do stuff, that he's more important because of that.
Though I think
Melina, I mean, I see the police girls are taking over, but I would also love to hear your opinion.
I'd say maybe Will has more, well, even though we're not measuring it on what is more risky, but he could be as well a stakeholder, and a risky stakeholder in the fact that if he's very experienced in recording and taking videos, that means that a lot of people might be also seeking his help. So his time might be a bit stretched out. Yeah, that's a contribution I would like to make to the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, okay, if you think so. I mean, I have to go in 4 minutes, so yeah. I don't think that is the point of me arguing at that point, because if I'm not going to be there for most of the time. But I do think that he can pose a risk. But it depends on your management of tasks also, because if you put a lot of tasks on him, on his back, then if he doesn't have time, then you are, let's say, not in a very good position.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of the exercise, right? How to manage tasks in the way that the stakeholder is risky. So.
Yes, so who do you want to keep? Gaia or Will?
Can we keep them together?
You think so?
Usually not, but for the sake of this exercise and moving forward, you can put them together.
I mean, I have one question. Do we, do we do we include these MCMs in the project as well? How will they be engaged in this project?
You mean will Dante and Gaia? I mean, they will help. I mean, they're here to help you, so they will probably be involved on all stages on production. You have 4 people to interview every single day. That means you probably will delegate the tasks to filming particular people to different team members that are working with you.
Mm-hmm.
So you will either probably team up with them like 2-2 and send 2 of them to film 2 people, and you will shoot 2 other interviews, and or you will send all of them individually, and also you will be on one of the interviews.
Yeah, and then
the format of the project itself also strongly influences how the whole process will go.
okay, then for the sake of I don't know, development in UIP, I would keep Kaya because she or he is not experienced and wants to develop in the media team probably. So you as a good evaluator, give him or her a chance to participate and edit something, and we'll have experience in video editing. Then I would keep one of them.
Okay, so now as we have 4 stakeholders, okay, someone's making a lot of noises. Yes, that may be Helena, thank you. Now, as we have our stakeholders, I would like you to think what's the risk that they may generate. Like what risks they are concerning this particular person. And running out of time, for example, is not a risk itself. There may be a risk that the result of it would be running out of time and passing the deadline. But if you're doing a project, you have certain certain deadlines, and you have certain standards you want to meet, and you don't think at the very beginning that you may not meet some of them. This is not risk itself. You, from the very start to the very beginning, you want to meet all your goals and all the deadlines and stuff. If you think at the very beginning that you may not meet that, you reconsider if your timeline is correct. So Dante, how is that person risky, and how this can jeopardize your project?
He might boss around and act like as if he knows better, and if you have a certain vision and someone interrupts it, then if the vision changes because of one person's actions, then you cannot provide the editor with the output that you would like to have, and you have to plan from the very beginning and start from your project from the very beginning if someone interrupts in that massively, let's say.
Yeah.
So rephrasing, you're afraid that Dante would criticize your ideas and bring his ideas, and because of that you will not meet your first like standards and like your quality goals you made for yourself.
Yes,
I think more specifically just that he will not listen to what you want to do, and he will,
yeah, but this is also
not going to do what you ask him to. That's another risk, because in that case the output won't be there.
Yes, those are 2 separate risks, I think, and I think that those 2 risks are equally valid.
Yeah, you can put them down.
Yeah, I guess I meant not so much that he just won't do what you ask him to do, but he will do it differently that you want it, and he will just interpret things differently, and in the end he will produce something else that you wanted, and because he thinks he knows better. That's what I meant.
Oh, that changes it, but also he can sabotage your project in that way, so like
He has to be a really bad
consciously
person.
or not.
That's evil.
Guys, I need to go. Goodbye. It was so nice here. I will just wave at you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for being with us. It was great having you here, and thank you for participating in the discussion. I hope I will meet you somewhere in Europe.
I hope I meet you somewhere in Europe too. Goodbye.
Bye.
Uh,
Okay, girls. Now we have Gwanza, Melina, and Michalina.
Yay!
If she still wants to participate. Okay, guys. So you can put down the risks you started discussing. Concerning Dante, as I said, there's no one good way to filling that in. There are many things that can happen, and there's no way you will ever think of all of them. So just put down what you came up with, and we can move to leadership.
Yeah, so one was that Dante might overtake your project.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can also like think about the result, like what will be result of this. He will overtake and what. It will be different for what you decided on with the editor, or he will overtake it and people won't listen to you, and happening that you're not going to have content in the end.
I guess also the risk is that you will just end up arguing with him, and it won't be nice for anyone, and you won't finish on time because you just waste your time arguing with him.
Yeah, and especially when it's your project and you want to do it in a certain way, and then someone like pops up and says that, oh yeah, we'll do that way, then it's just like ruining the whole concept for you, because that's your idea and that's your project. So if this person is here to help and does the exact opposite things, then that's not the goal of the project that you had for your project.
Let me take this a bit further. As I asked you to think directly on the how can this affect your project. In that case, if he will just discourage you from working on that because of he's trying to tell you that he knows better all the time, the final effect of this might be that you're gonna be very discouraged, and the whole the quality of everything will go down because you won't care about that anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So that will be the first one, I guess. What's the second one?
The second one could be that if, for example, if Dante promises that he or she would help you out, and then and you trust them because Dante is experienced, and then he kind of treats it very responsibly and doesn't really care. Maybe it's called like he just stops in the middle of the way and does not help. I don't know.
And you're not going to have content in the end that he promised to take, right? This is what you mean? Okay, that's good. You can put it down.
Okay.
And in the meanwhile, the rest can start thinking about leadership and what about them? What risk can they cause? Editor and the president.
Yeah, I guess specifically to the president, he may make it more difficult for participants of your project to participate in the project if he will want chairs to be busy with something else.
You can maybe type that down if the rest agrees.
Unfortunately, on my phone now, I don't have the link to the. I don't have the link on my laptop anymore. That would be
okay. So. This is very mind shortcut, but I think it's clear. Okay, second risk concerning the leadership. What can also happen with president and editor having this attitude?
They could have really high expectations of what the quality of the project should be, which could in turn really affect how you operate the project.
Yes, but how directly? Because from the expectations, themselves. I mean, they not pressure you from just having expectation, but for example, the president may approach your team members and start, as I mentioned, he can be mean and aggressive. He may approach your team members and start asking them very stressful questions, or being very aggressive about why the content is not ready yet, or something like this.
Yeah, well, he could demoralize you and the people in your team, which would in turn also affect the quality of the project, because you won't be as motivated to do it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So extra pressure.
Okay, so we can maybe type that down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's some editors or maybe other members of the leadership who show this very obviously to the media team members, that they are not satisfied with the outcome of the project, or maybe they expected something else, and they are pretty clear about that in the process, and that can be very discouraging.
Wait, once again.
I mean, for example, if I am the media team member and I'm doing this project, and the editor approaches me and says that, oh, well, you're not doing it right, and this is totally different from what I expected and stuff, and then, but then he or she ends up with, oh, but you continued anyways, and it is very, very discouraging.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it corresponds to what we've already said. So you can I know someone is typing in this box, but maybe you can sum this up and type it down.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
Oops, I did something. Wow.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, there's something there, so I think it's good. And I think it's oh, it disappeared now. Why?
Can someone undo what I just did?
No, you can only undo your own options, I think. Your own.
Okay, then someone should do it. Someone who was typing there. Marina, I think.
Yeah, hi. I typed something. I don't know where it went.
Okay, can you type it again, maybe? Because I also don't know what happened. I'm sad it disappeared. Okay, participants like the interviewed one.
The risk can be
up a bit. I may add something here from my experience, that it happens very often that you interview people that are quite random and they're not really used to do the stuff you ask them to. They're not really used to being interviewed, and they don't say stuff that is anything anywhere usable, and you need to shoot a lot to actually get something from them that is not fake or actually make sense in the project you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. For example, maybe you are filming this one person and doing this project with one person, and on day 2 or 3, he or she refuses to participate.
Yeah, also.
That also might be a case.
That will be a huge problem, actually. So I think that's one risk, that one of the people will in the middle of the thing will say that they won't do it anymore. That's definitely one of the huge risks.
Yeah, not even that they don't want to do it anymore, but they somehow don't have time, or they promise you they will be there on time, but then they suddenly don't have time anymore, and you arrange another time they can't, and it's difficult to find.
I mean, that will be two different things in terms of dealing with them, because if they don't want to take part in this anymore because it's either too stressful, or they don't like how they turned out on the video or something like that, that's a big problem, because you have to convince them that it's okay. But if they just don't have time, you may work with the schedule and somehow fit this shooting time into the schedule. So there are two different things. I think the refusing one would be more difficult to deal with. I was doing this kind of the project once, and fortunately, no one said that they won't take part in it anymore. And I'm really happy it didn't happen. Okay, second risk. You mentioned the time that some of them would be difficult to catch during certain days.
Yeah, difficult to find someone on a certain day.
Yeah, find or make them find sometime. You can put that down maybe. That would be nice. And the rest can move to Gaia. Young and less experienced EA peer who's helping you as well.
Oh yeah, that might be a huge risk with Gaia, because I don't know, I feel like this person is cheap. Okay.
Yeah, it's cheap. Gaia is mythology. I don't remember which.
Okay.
I think it's Greek. Dante is also like Dante Alighieri, the author of comedy.
The author of true.
Yeah, and Gaia is from mythology, and Will is from Wilhelm. So there are two guys, one girl.
Okay, so Gaia, you might trust this whole project filming process to Gaia, and then it maybe at the end you find out that Gaia never turned on the camera, for example, or did not to take off the lead from the camera or something like that, just because she has no experience.
And so she will either provide you with very low quality content or with no content at all. Yes, good.
Yeah.
Okay, second risk of Gaia. I may guide you here. I mean, I mentioned that she's shy, and that may also mean that she's more sensitive. And if there is the president running around yelling at people, even if there is so much pressure from also Dante, who may want to, who may want to take the lead, and if there is the EA who's also super stressed and wants everyone to make it done right, like ASAP, this may make her very stressed.
I put this that Gaia may not be able to deal with stress and pressure, and that will result in emotional breakdown.
Yes.
Okay.
Or not, because I don't see it. But this is very fair. And emotional breakdown will cause your project to have one less human resource.
Okay.
And with this emotional breakdown, if we go back for a second to this, if there are people, I mean, if you have certain people in your project, and if because of something that happened, suddenly there are less people who are able to do some work, is about the cost part of the triangle, because cost in that case would be like human capital, and that will cause the whole thing to take longer or the quality to go down. So keep that in mind if there are some people dropping out from the thing you're doing with them. Okay, now the actions that may be taken. We'll start, I think I will be more active in this one, because there are a few things that you can do about risks. First of all, you can accept the risk as it is, just like acknowledge it and accept it, and be very passive about it. You can also try to act on the risk directly to make it less possible, like to make to try making it less certain to appear. And you can also act on the results of the risk. So instead of taking care of the risk, you make sure that the way it affects your project won't be that bad. I mean, there are also many other ways, but these are the three main ones that you can try doing and thinking of. So in case of Dante and overtaking your thing, I guess it would be the best to act directly on Dante and making sure he won't take the lead. So what I would recommend you at this point is either to talk to someone that is above you, like either EA or the editor and the Dante, to make sure that he'll respect you, that he knows that you're the one in charge, and that he won't interrupt you. So some maybe a very honest conversation with him will help him, cooperate with you more than trying to lead the whole thing. What do you think, and do you have any other ideas for that? Guys, you still there?
I think that's a great idea, because to deal with someone who is kind of stealing your project, I don't know how to call this, it would be the best part to first talk to Dante, and if he then does not acknowledge what you recommend, and your kind of your reaction on this, then I would go and talk with editors to it, because I feel like editorial assistant in this case is really dependent on editor. So yeah, I would directly go to editor.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. But I think really in the case of someone who just feels very experienced, he probably doesn't realize like what impact it has on you and how it really stifles your own creativity. So yeah, it should be the most important one is to talk to Dante directly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will agree that going to editor is like the last thing you can do, and the first one is definitely talk to Dante himself first. Maybe he'll just be friendly and nice enough to agree that you're the one in charge, and he was not aware that he was taking the lead. Okay, so what if there's you think that he may promise to do something, but he won't do it in the end because he will neglect the thing, like your project? And the action is not what you do after that, but what you do before the risk happens. That's the whole thing about acting on risk. You know that the risk may happen, so you think what you can do before it may happen, not after. You're not trying to fix the whole thing after everything went down. You're trying to make it not happen.
I think you need to make sure that the responsibility just isn't big enough that it would affect your project in a great way if the person pulls out. So if it's something you can do yourself, even if Dante pulls out, then you can make sure that you're covered if he does say, sorry, I can't help you right now. And also making sure that what you ask him to do could be done by yourself or someone else who is also going to help you, like Gaia or Will.
Mm-hmm. You can also pair up with him, like send Will and Gaia somewhere and then pair yourself up with Dante. So you first of all make sure that Gaia will have some experienced person helping her, and you also have keep an eye on Dante.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a very difficult problem. Like from my experience, the most difficult problem in UIP, because you have people, you're not their boss, so you can't just tell them what to do because they do UIP because they want to. But I think what really helps is just to like get these people better and just like just get to know Dante, be friendly with him, because it's much easier to work with someone you know and someone you trust, and he will feel much more motivated to do stuff, and he will feel much more responsible if he just knows you personally, and if it's not you're not some random person for him. So just make friends with Dante.
Okay, what else? That getting to know him better and making friends. About you also mentioned that like someone else mentioned something before, but I didn't write it down. So if you could repeat in one sentence, preferably.
Repeat what?
I mean, I think either Vanza or Melina, you said something that you want to do with Dante other than just befriending him before, and I didn't type it down. So if you could just repeat in like one sentence.
I think Melina said that about just giving them tasks that are not so crucial for the project.
Okay. Yeah, but also as one of you mentioned, as you're not their boss, it's not always that easy to give your fellow media team members some tasks because you're on the same level, so you're cooperating, you're not just directing them. Okay, I think we can move to the leadership and what do you want to do about them?
By the way, I will have to go at past. If that's
Oh, okay, so let's speed up a bit so at least we can finish this action part.
okay.
Okay, girls.
Okay, so the first one is president asking people to be somewhere else and they don't have time for showing up for you. Yeah, I guess in this case we need to do something beforehand as well. So before the project we take on with the project, because this is a risk that can happen anytime at the project. So I would suggest kind of making sure that these people know that the president knows that you're in charge of this project and that you will need certain amount of people for your project at certain amount of time, at certain period of time, I mean.
So just talking to
Just
the
making
president.
sure the president, not talking to the, you cannot, I don't believe that media team member just goes up to a president and talks to them, but I believe like maybe we
I
could
think you can just
arrange
ask.
this. We can?
I needed something from the president in my past. I just approached him or her, I guess, but you can also ask your editor. But you know, it's not something super. You basically are going up to her, him to ask, hey, I'm doing this project, and also this project is also important for the president. So he/she should just, you know, casually talk to you and casually agree that he needs to allow one of his chairs to maybe help him a bit and chair the committee for a while and allow the chair for, like, to go with you for 15 minutes to shoot the thing.
Yeah, then either check with the editor, you know, that he kind of, or she agrees with the president, and know that so the president knows that you will need someone for your project. It's just like that the president is aware of what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. So just keeping him informed definitely on what's going on. I think we had to speed up a bit because it's already slightly long. So I will go quickly through the other boxes. And yes, for this part, it's definitely important. If there's someone above you who's really pressuring you about stuff and who's asking you frequently on updates and who may be aggressive and stressful at some point of your work, is definitely the best approach would be to keep that person informed, because you know that this person will be around all the time if he cares a lot on what you do. And he may also try to get involved, but you don't want him involved. So it's best to act on that before, and giving like small updates on what you're doing. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be less annoying than having to deal with someone very mad at you, especially if there's someone above you. And this similar thing goes for like demoralizing. If you keep the person informed, maybe they won't put that much pressure on you to finish the thing. If that doesn't help, you probably should approach your editor and to talk to the president, to not interrupt you all the time. And if the editor is one that is pressuring you, you can either try talking to him directly or to him through your EA. But make sure to communicate if there are people that are pressuring you too much. I will move to the participants, the interviewed one. When you're picking if you know that you want someone for more than one interview, you definitely need to know that these people will stick with you throughout the whole time. Like that they won't just like try to talk to them and make them aware of how this whole thing will go. at the very beginning, so they won't be surprised in the middle of the project you're doing with them, and they may say that they don't want to do it anymore, because that will be like you basically would have to start from the very beginning. So like pick the right people, I would say, and make them like tell them everything they need to know about the project, so they won't be surprised by any part of it. And about finding a certain time, it's great to like, first of all, you always need to like have the sessions scheduled somewhere around you, to just know where different people are at different times. If you there are usually lunch shifts, if there's a lot of committees, so you probably should approach organizers before and figure out at what time like these people have some free time, they have lunch break, so they can just bring lunch to the interview, eat like on the way or something, and then you can interview them during lunch or coffee break, because coffee break shifts are usually like 15-20 minutes, so you can catch these people during this time. It's usually like they don't have much time, but they always have some time. So there's always a way to find them, but you should take some effort to like look around, walk around, ask some people, ask the chair if there's a delegate, and figure out when they are free. Maybe they're free in the evening, maybe they're free during the breakfast. But there's always a way to find out. On the participants, I will also add that it may happen that they don't know how to be interviewed, and in this you will probably either you should be quite experienced with interviewed people if you want to get very specific things from them. If you want to make this very inspiring outside audience video, it may happen that the thing that the people will say won't be anywhere like usable for your content. That's why you either should have someone with you who's quite experienced with interviewing people in terms of getting a certain kind of content, or you should be experienced yourself or have some knowledge on how to interview people properly. Gaia, when you have someone who has no experience, that would be nice to pair them up with someone who's more experienced. In the case of that case, I would pair Gaia up with Will, because Will has experience with videos, but he's not as bossy as Dante. So he will probably help her more. And for stressing her out, make sure that the people that are the easiest to stress are not dealing with people that are stressful. Like, make sure that president won't really interrupt Gaia, and if there's any problem, that either you or your supervisor is the one dealing with that, and people that are helping you don't have to deal with your problems. Any questions or anything you want to add there?
I completely agree with everything you've just said.
Because this is the moment when all of you will be asked for the session to do it. And the thing with, to sum this up, when you want to act on risk, you first of all have to know what drives people around you, like what motivates them. Because you may think, like, for example, that someone has exactly the same goal as you have, but when you think about it twice, it may turn out that he actually does not, and that might change your whole way of managing the stuff. And the thing of looking at bigger picture is identifying everyone around your project. If you're doing something for outside audience, you should strongly focus on adapting the content for the audience, because it may actually miss the final goal if you just swim away from what you initially thought you want to do. And for everyone involved, like delegates, like organizers, there are people that maybe may need to give you some supplies. It's also too nice to think before, ask them before if it's going to be there or not. because there are very little things that can make your turn your project into a disaster, and there are very simple things that can be changed to make sure it won't happen. Do you have any questions regarding that, and do you think you will know in the future how to figure out what actions you can take to make your success less risky when it comes to making a project? That was a very weird question, but that was a question. Do you think you could do it yourself afterwards, or is it something that I should clarify a bit more?
No, I feel like we can do this on our own. That's pretty self-explanatory, I believe.
Good. I wish we had more time, and I also wish we could do it in person, but
we will soon.
we will see each other soon, at least with some people. Wait, I will try to go to my, Oh, Ali. Thank you so much for taking part in this module. And as I said, I hope it's clear, and I hope it was clear for you how this can actually make your life a bit easier. I know this can be very complicated sometimes, and it's also not that obvious, like things like just making, for example, you stressful, or making something take a bit longer is not a risk itself, and it's not that obvious. But I think if you would like to make a bit more research about that, or ask me afterwards, I will definitely ask everyone on Valencia team to make it on your own during your project development phase. But for anyone else who saw this module or will see this module, I am always open for like conversation and any kind of engagement to talk more about risks, because they're very, very interesting things. They're little things, but they're very important. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much.